Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker. We are always glad to bring you information and updates that happen in the community. One of those things is that on December the 9th, Thibodaux Regional was able to do the grand opening and ribbon cutting for their new Cancer Institute. And so we go now with more information from that grand opening.
I'm so excited to be with you. My name's Jen Hale. I'm with Fox Sports in the NFL on Fox. But lucky for me, I travel to and from work, so I get to stay here and live in my home state, which is very important to me. And seeing projects like this come to fruition is so inspiring about where we're headed and what's next for Louisiana and the Houma-Thibodaux region. This is certainly a new day. It was a long time coming. Folks have been dreaming and have had visions of this cancer center for years. And today is the culmination of a lot of hard work. I just had the opportunity to take a beautiful tour of the building, and I encourage all of you to take a minute to walk through it. You are going to be inspired, you're going to be encouraged, and I think you're going to be grateful and thankful that you have such an awesome facility like this here. You know, Thibodaux Regional has been in the community now for 90 plus years and consistently sets the standard of care in so many different ways. I probably don't need to tell you that, from the state-of-the-art wellness center to the cardiovascular institute, and already really when it came to cancer care, they were the leader in this region. Thibodaux Regional heretofore has treated 5 times more breast cancer patients than anyone else in the region. And today, the best is getting even better. So I hope y'all are as excited as I am. You know, when we talk about leadership, CEO Greg Stock certainly embodies that word and what it means. Speaking of being here since 1990, he has spearheaded so many amazing projects. He's had the vision and the confidence to go and look across the nation for not just what's a best practice and what works best here in this region or here in the state, but what works best across the country. And he has brought all of that home here to Thibodaux Regional. He has been slaving away at this cancer center. Greg, congratulations on a job well done. Tell us a little bit more.
It is an important milestone in the history and the development of this hospital and the things that we are now. I was talking to one of the original board members a few minutes ago. When I came here, there was one building right over there. And where we were sitting is a sugarcane field. And across the street was a sugarcane field, and Bowie Road was a dirt road. And so it seems like time has gone by quickly, but we've been so blessed every step of the way by the great people that work at Thibodaux Regional, by great doctors. And the culture of our organization. We love the Southern culture, and then there's also the organizational culture. And, you know, I'd like to just talk to you for a few minutes about that. Before I go any further, I want to express appreciation to all that work at Thibodaux Regional for their work during COVID and a major hurricane. To me, when I think about what I saw, what I experienced myself in being there, I lived here for 10 days. It's still remarkable in my experience in healthcare. It's amazing. And the stories never end. They're unending about the commitment, the incredible desire to go above and beyond, and demonstrated in so many different ways. Love these people that work here. So today we're here to talk about cancer for a few minutes. Way back in the 90s, we put a plan together, a strategic plan. I know there's a lot of talk about those. Sometimes those go on a shelf somewhere and they're not implemented. It's one thing to develop a plan and have a vision. It's another thing to execute it and make it reality. And that's where there's many a slip between the plate and the lip, as the poet said. And so having these great people have great processes, have strong leaders at every level, enables us to make things like this reality. I'd like to talk to you for just a moment or two about the process here. So several years ago, it seemed to me we clearly were going to need to do something with our cancer center, the building itself, as our program was growing. It grew 40% just in the last couple of years. That's a lot of growth in this business, a lot of growth. And so we're getting great outcomes. Our clinical outcomes are at the top. Our patient experience is the best. And those are factors that feed into that. And we have more physicians, and we just continue to grow. And they're doctors that have joined us. These med-oncs and rad-oncs are the great. But you have pulmonologists and radiologists and pathologists and neurosurgeons and so on and so forth. They're part of that, very much a part of that. General surgeons that do colon cancer or breast cancer work and all of that are very much a part of the team. Along the way, we had, I think, established some really good processes. One of them is the oncology group that meet together, these doctors, and review the cases. And they have honest conversations about how they can improve. It's not just we go to a meeting, we eat, we talk a little bit, and we leave. It's a real conversation. That's how you get outstanding accreditation, is by continuously improving. We did that and have done it for years. This building is not patterned after any cancer center anywhere. The only building that influenced the early thinking, I brought the architects downtown. I love the looks of that building. And we took photographs, walked around, and you'll see in this building some of the characteristics, like the roof. You see arches, you see the bell tower stuff, and so on. And some of it's more subtle, but it's there. That was the only thing. And then it was quite a conversation about how big is this piece of land? This is kind of the brain part. How about parking and all those things? And it's clear we're going to have to build up. We're not going to be able to build sort of horizontally. How can we do that, and what does up mean? And from there, conversations about we want to build a state-of-the-art building. What is that? What does that look like? And the architects, Washer Lipcomb, did a great job, but it was a process, a very tedious process that went on for a while. I would tell them, this is what I think. And they would go design something, and we would look at it. We'd say that's part of it. The rest of it, that's not it. And from one thing to another, and some of them were major changes. They weren't little subtleties. Toward the end, it was more of the subtleties. Is it affordable? Does it have permanence to it? Is it something that's going to last 5 years and it's over with? Or 10, 15, 20 years from now, people are going to come up here and say, somebody thought about this when they built it, and it still works today. Would it enable us to provide care in the top performance type care, which is what we want to do? Does the building enable the staff to do that? Is it a clean, well-lighted place? That's what I call it. There's no dark places in the building. Some of that's metaphor and some of it isn't. But the building that's flooded by natural light. So how do you flood a building with natural light? The atrium concept I had somewhere, seen probably in a hotel mostly, but never seen it really in a cancer center. I've seen little atriums, but this is a big one. And that whole thing changes the way you build a building. It makes it more complicated and some things like that, but it's unique. There's not another one like it that we know of. How can we create the feeling when you start talking about cancer patients of a refuge? They come in the building, they feel like this is a safe place. The building itself puts off a feeling of being in a refuge. And spiritually and emotionally and all those other things as well, the clinical care is at the top. It's the best. Only you yourself can interpret that to some degree. But I can tell you, when you set out with that concept, what you eventually build, that's quite a road as far as I'm concerned, quite a pathway to follow to try to get there. And what about this? What's one of the key words in cancer care? To me, it's hope. Hope. Do I feel that when I come in this building or not? And that translates over into the treatment areas and all aspects of it, not just the chapel. And so kind of the final thing is, will the patients like it? That's the beginning and the end. Will they like it? I've stewed over that a lot. and with excruciating, tedious discussions. I'm sure the architects thought we were crazy as we went through lots of details. And then toward the end, it was more of the finished stuff. You're going to see flowers in this building if you haven't toured it. You know, orchids to me are beautiful, and you'll see in a subtle way they're in the building. Lilies, commonly popular around the resurrection, if you will, and carved in stone, highlighted, and a quote from Christ about, a great quote about, consider the lilies of the field, how they toil not, neither do they labor. Yet Solomon, with all his glory, was not arrayed like one of these. God so clothed the flowers of the field, would he not clothe us? That's the idea that once we've done everything we can do, these great doctors and staff, great chemo nurses, that then our hands are in the hands of the Almighty, somebody above. And so we recognize that and try to provide for it, and hopefully it's all appropriate. I don't know if you remember during the first onslaught of COVID, everything came to a screeching halt. Well, these guys managed to get a huge crane over here and keep the steel work going, and brought workers sometimes out of Florida to get things done, and it never stopped. But that's Thibodaux Regional. That's what we think we are. That we're going to go on no matter what happens. We're going on. We're not quitting. Now, to me, a community needs to know that. So here's one or two other really brief stories. That just before the hurricane, I called one of the Donahue guys, John, young guy that's been involved here, and I said, you think we could get a generator for the interim cancer center? It's a building back here behind this building. He called me back, and he got in his pickup truck and drove to Baton Rouge and brought the gen set down here, brought the electricians over, hooked it all up. That was Saturday, the evening before the storm rolled in. The storm was pretty difficult. By the way, there were 4 other hospitals that went out of, in the first 24 hours, they were out of business. We were it. But on Tuesday morning, I was standing in front of the Indian Cancer Center. I don't know if you remember, the cell phones and things didn't work. We couldn't really communicate with our staff or these patients that were scheduled to be treated. Guess what? Here come the patients. Here they come rolling in. I was standing there watching them. Guess who else showed up of their own accord? The staff. They were there. And I saw the look on those patients' faces when they realized we were open. We were there to take care of them.
One of the many people who have been here for decades trying to ensure that this community has the best health care possible is Mr. Jake Giardina. The Giardina Family Foundation has been around since 1999. Of course, we're all familiar with the charter school they founded to help children with dyslexia. I don't know how you have the time, Mr. Jake, but you still manage to serve as our chairman of the board here at Thibodaux Regional. So, Mr. Jake, turn it over to you.
Cancer is the second largest cause of death in the country, and it's very, very close to the first, which is heart failure. You go back in the history of what we've been doing through the years. In the mid-90s, as a board, we made the decision to open our first cancer center. And I remember at that time, one of the fellows, I don't remember which one, but he says, just about all of us has been or will be touched by cancer at some time in our life. And you just think about it between you and your family members and your good friends, and just how this goes. And that is our intention here to do and to have treatment for as much as we can within our economic means. And I see that, and it is our goal in most everything, like with everything we do around here, is to be able to treat you as a patient in any way possible within our economic means. There are certain things we can do, and there are certain things we can't. But the ones we can do, we want to do them and do them well. And one of the things I want to leave you with, especially at this time, is, as we have done with so many of the facilities on this campus, going back to about 1992, is that every time we have been able to open one of these facilities, be it in additions to the hospital, the wellness center, now this cancer center, when you walk through the door, the building is paid for. I just want you to know.
Once upon a time, I got my start at KNOE in Monroe, Louisiana, then WAFB in Baton Rouge, and then WVUE in New Orleans. And covering Hurricane Katrina, there was one person you could count on to always answer the phone, whether you worked the morning shift, the overnights, the night shift, and it was Mr. Billy Nungesser. He did amazing things for Plaquemines Parish, was a tremendous advocate for folks there, and now we're very lucky since 2016 to have had him advocating for our entire state as our Lieutenant Governor. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Billy Nungesser.
Thank you. I know when you get a chance to visit this facility and walk through, as I just did, you'll come away with the same feeling, that everyone in this facility has the same love and passion. You feel it. You feel it when you walk through those doors, and that is so important, not to mention the incredible building, but the staff and team of doctors and their love and passion for really making a difference. I had a chance to visit back in 2019 the Wellness Center, and we talked about medical tourism and hosting events there before COVID. And I felt it then, and on my way down here, I was wondering if that passion and love was still in the air here, and it surely is. This medical facility and its team is a shining star for Louisiana. And as we come out of COVID and we look to restart the tourism, medical tourism we talked about before, this is going to be our first stop. And before I close, if you would allow me, if you see this pin I'm wearing, it says dream, believe, achieve. Yesterday, we finalized our deal to put the first ever float in the Rose Bowl parade. And when we went out there a few months ago, we told the committee they were only going to let 1 or 2 or 3 floats in about all we've been through. Hurricanes, COVID, but we talked about the shining stars in Louisiana, and we wanted them on that float. We're going to have the little young lady that won the spelling bee. And by the way, she dribbled 6 basketballs at one time. Pretty incredible. We're going to have our American Idol Lane Hardy. We're going to have a police officer, a school teacher of the year. And Greg, I'm going to task you today with picking one of your medical team to represent Louisiana on New Year's Day for the Rose Bowl parade. As the shining star that all the medical workers from around this state went beyond the call of duty through COVID and the storms, and I couldn't think of a better representation of the state of Louisiana than someone from this team. Thank you. God bless you.
And thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it very, very much. We're glad to bring you some of that information from Thibodaux Regional Medical Center as they were able to provide the grand opening and ribbon cutting for their new cancer center. And that'll do it for us here at Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming when we continue.